take the link down in the slides or use the QR code to donate. Help us improve our conference. Please make sure you give feedback. Feedback is very important. I also run some conferences and speak at a lot of conferences, and I love to hear the feedback, whether it's good feedback or it needs improvement feedback. Always make sure that feedback is clean and respectful, but also please give feedback, and we usually take that feedback and change things up. Thank you to our massive sponsor list. Lots of great folks on this list here, gold, silver, and community partners. Without the sponsors, this will be impossible to put on. So sponsors really put a lot of work into it. Special thanks to the organizers that put this together, all the moderators. They also, without their dedication, hard work, and commitment to the community, a lot of these events will not happen. These are free events, very, very informative. If you're still wanting to get more information and more education, these are great events to attend. And always at the end of the day, there's a raffle and there's a giveaways. There's always great prizes, whether it's a prize pack, Amazon gift card. I was hoping to get the Xbox One. I need to upgrade, but you know what? I hope one of you guys win it. And again, my name is Johnny Lopez. I'm a senior solutions architect for a company called Core BTS. I'm a Microsoft MVP, Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft service adoption specialist. I am also the president in the Houston Office 365 community. You can follow me on Twitter, or I do have a YouTube channel that I still need to push out some more content to, but many other things that are going is we're really looking forward to 2022 and the growth of the community, and continue to put on these conferences and have you guys attend. So thank you. Today's topic is around the Teams Connect overview. With the Teams Connect, Microsoft is making it easier to collaborate with everyone outside the organization that you need to collaborate with. You can use the Teams full experience with the external partners and vendors that you guys work with on a daily basis. This is the same way. The experience should be the same way as you use your colleagues today. So when you chat, when you share documents, when you have video calls, those different types of things, Microsoft is making that transition a little bit easier to consistently help you share content across whether your organization or outside your organization. The topics that we're going to talk about today is we're going to look into Teams architecture. I think it's very important to understand the Teams architecture when you want to understand Teams Connect. We're going to look at what a standard, what a private, what a shared channel is. And then we're going to take a little deeper dive in how the external collaboration works with identities, and a little bit around using Azure B2B to be able to share that information out with any identity that you need. Okay, so first let's talk about Teams architecture. And Microsoft Teams really around it's a teamwork for it's a hub for teamwork, as we all know, which brings together everything a team needs: chat, conversations, meeting, voice, conferencing, PSTN, content collaboration, all within that Office 365 collaboration platform. The ability to integrate apps and workflows are there, whether you're having a meeting, you're having a one-on-one call. Teams also has integration with external vendors for calling. You can use your own vendor for calling, or you can use Microsoft's calling plans that they have available. So with all that said, it is secure and compliant with most regulatory and compliance needs. Within Microsoft Teams, a couple things that we're going to focus on today is we're going to look at chats. How do we chat one-on-one with external users and have group chats? And then also look at channel messages. It's a seamless experience. Some of you know this today if you're using private channels, or if you're using Teams shared with external collaborators, you're going to see this as well. And then also from the collaboration perspective, when Teams Connect does, it extends that collaboration. So as we know that a team can be an org-wide, a public team within the organization, or a private team where only people that have been requested to access or have access to that team can get to it. And then you have different channels designs. Channels, again, they're just a group of it's a placeholder and a place where folks can collaborate within the similar topics within a team. So you have standard channels, private channels, and shared channels. We're going to get into those a little bit more. But just a little bit of caveat here, Microsoft Teams Connect is in a private preview as of July 21st. Public preview is coming out. So for the latest status, check the roadmap. At the end of these slides, I'll have a roadmap specifically around Teams Connect. There is a roadmap slide that tells you exactly what you're to look for on the roadmap, which item. I know it's the feature is 70766, but it's an actual screenshot of that feature itself. Again, now that shared channels are in public preview, there's a lot more coming down the line through Microsoft. This is an illustration of the Microsoft team architecture. Off to the left, this is a non-hybrid Skype connected environment. So if you look here on the left-hand side, you have the Teams client. Within the Teams client, you have chat, which goes for one-on-one chat, group chat that goes through a chat service that is passed to Exchange Online, whether it's the user's mailbox or a group mailbox, depending on if it's one-on-one or group chats. Within the Teams collaboration piece of this is really around content and documents. So you have the M365 group. All the channel messages for that go into that group mailbox. And then the wiki and files also, they go into the SharePoint site that's associated either to the mailbox for that group. So you're going to have a wiki, a list, and then a document library for your files on that SharePoint or OneDrive, depending on if you're sending files through one-on-one or if you're collaborating with them through the team itself. With meetings and callings, that the meetings and the callings go through that a calling and meeting service, which also then ends up in Exchange Online. So whether it's a user's mailbox where you can get a call summary and a meeting summary, that does come from a calling and meeting service, which also is part into the Exchange Online piece of it. And then from a files perspective, obviously, if you're sharing files one-on-one with someone, you can send those files through OneDrive. If I'm in a one-on-one chat with a colleague and I wanted to share a file, I can either upload a file from my desktop, which it goes into my OneDrive and it shares a file link to that for that person, or I can share a file that's straight from my OneDrive, which is a nice way to do that. One of the scenarios that I've done before in the past is I've started documents in my OneDrive, and then within Teams, I'm thinking, hey, this document needs to start being shared with other people. Maybe this collaboration group that I'm working in, I can move that file or copy that file from my OneDrive to that Teams file, that Teams area, whether it's a library. I can copy that document so people can collaborate and co-authoring can be done, all in a couple clicks within OneDrive. Let's talk about a little bit more, some of the key data entities and locations where the data is stored at rest. Chat in Teams is persistent, which means that it is stored in its entirety and it uses its own storage. So from a message perspective, it's ingested to Exchange to enable compliance. One-on-one and group chats are stored in the Cosmos DB database today, and Microsoft is working on moving channel conversations too. Excuse me. I'm sorry, drinking a little bit of coffee here. Microsoft is also keeping a copy of a conversation exchange to enable some of the security and compliance features. One-on-one and a group chat, the messages will be stored in the hidden folder in each participant's mailbox for conversations to take place within a channel. The messages are stored in the mailbox of the equivalent Office 365 group that is attached to the team. Let's talk about media, whether it's an image. The media is ingested into Exchange to enable compliance. So it's stored separately. Any media is stored in the media store separately. In terms of in files, we know that the team files are stored in SharePoint, and the chat files are stored in OneDrive. It really makes it easier for people to collaborate and share files because they don't have to take any extra steps to grant permissions, and it all happens automatically. This is the preferred method If you're on a team with a group of folks, and you want to share a document, there's no longer that need to attach a individual file, and ad hoc file to a email message. You can quickly add a modern attachment, which creates a link to that OneDrive or SharePoint file, and allows the recipients to get into that file faster and co-author that file. Voicemail is stored in your Exchange mailbox. The calendar and contacts are also stored in Exchange, as you can imagine. Meeting recordings. So meeting recordings, it was initially stored in the same media storage for images, but then encoded and stored in SharePoint and OneDrive for consumption. The recording is purged from the media store within 24 hours. Obviously, we know that the media service was stored in Stream, but that has changed now. SharePoint or OneDrive should be your media. Your meeting recording location, or you could use Azure Media Services if you have that capability. And then a couple things more is the telemetry and the calendar meetings. The calendar meetings are individual mailbox and Exchange. Think about it from a group mailbox perspective. If you're creating an invite, or you're creating a meeting for the team itself, if you schedule a meeting inside of a team channel, that channel calendar is stored in that Office 365 mailbox. So think about where you need to go to look for that. It's going to be in that mailbox. Contacts are stored in Exchange as well. That's something that is coming from Exchange. And then also from a telemetry perspective, the data, there's very strict rules around this. It cannot contain call in user identifiable information or customer content. So Microsoft does scrub things like email addresses and channel names out of the if you're using that data warehouse piece of it. Let's look at some more of the architecture continued. As you can see here, some of the life cycle around chat services and Office 365 services within. This is another illustration of what we just talked about. From an email perspective, it goes for one-on-one chat, email, one-on-one chat, group chat, channel messages, all through Exchange, which goes through the Security Compliance Center. Same thing with SharePoint. Now that video is part of SharePoint and OneDrive, it will go through the Security Compliance Center, and it could potentially have information protocols assigned to it. Whether you're doing e-discovery, legal hold, compliance search, you're archiving data, if you have retention policies that you need to assign a data, and then you can review the audit logs in the Security Compliance Center. This is very important to understand if you're looking, especially if you're looking at data that's you're sharing with outside of the organization. You want to put more guardrails up to that data, so that way that you cannot leak data or have any PII, PHI go through some type of data loss, and you don't lose any data within that concept. So this is very important to understand. This data does go through the Office 365 information protection. Okay, so I know I'm talking really fast. I'm sorry. This is my fourth cup of coffee today, but I'm really excited about this topic, and I'm really excited to really get a deeper dive into it, because it's still in private preview or in public preview now. It's starting to be released a little bit more to some of us, just that way we can test and do some more analysis on it. Let's look at the different types of channels. As we know, there's a standard channel. Every Microsoft team gets a general channel. That is a channel that everyone in that team has access to. It inherits the full membership list from the team. This has the open collaboration with the team. Now, the team's owners has the capability of locking those channels down, whether they want people in the team to be able to post chats, or to add a tab, or add documents, those different types of things. So there are some granular settings that the team's owner can apply to the standard channel, and to either prevent or allow further collaboration. The next one is private channels. So private channels are focused private collaboration with the team. This is a managed subset of members from the team. So, and what that means is, in order for you to be part of a private channel, you have to be part of the entire team. right? You can't just have a user that is. So I think I got kicked out when I was talking about shared channels. Again, shared channels. This is what Teams Connect is all about. It's about helping manage the set of individuals within or outside or a team outside the team or outside your environment, right? So if it's an external user, you want to share information with them, you can do that with the simplicity of sharing. There's some things that you can do setting up, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. One of the things I mentioned, if you guys didn't hear this, is if you are a member of a shared channel out from an outside organization, when you go to your teams in that capacity, you should only see the channel that you are part of. You don't even see the general channel. This is one of the things that we've noticed as well. So just keep in mind, you're not sharing the entire team. You're only sharing what that specific channel is. So whatever's in that channel, the channel's files, the conversations, and then also within those apps as well that are consumed. If you don't want an external user to be able to chat on your channels, you can do that. You can disable that from a policy perspective. That's a whole different conversation. But I just want to let you guys know there is a way for you to allow users to share files through this process, but also just minimize chat. Okay, so team owners are always in control. And what does that mean? That means only team owners can create shared channels. You can't not be a member. You have to be an owner of that team. Team owners can see the name, description, and all of the shared channels in a team without being a member of that shared channel. Team owners can delete shared channels without being a member of that shared channel. Only team owners can accept share with team invites. So what that means is there's a setting in Teams that allows you to allow your members to invite people into a channel or to the team. The team owner is the only one that can accept that share approval. So if you don't know that person, or if that maybe it's just you have a random invite that came through your mailbox that says, "Hey, this person wants to share this." This person, and as a member, you can decline it and it will not happen. So which is a good control for the team owner perspective. Team owners can terminate sharing a relationship with shared channels from other teams. Shared channels inherit labels from the team on creation. Okay, so if you're using specific labels, those labels will be inherited from the team channel upon creation. So, and what that means, if the team is private or public, and then if you have any other labels that you're using within the compliance or security compliance perspective. Channel owners are empowered. This is pretty big. Only in tenant members can be channel owners, right? So, hey, I'm a team owner. Now we have the concept of channel owners, right? You can manage that channel. Who can have access to that channel? Who cannot? Channel owners manage the membership and channel lifecycle. Removing a member from a team does not remove them from a shared channel if the channel was shared with them directly. Keep that in mind. If there's a shared channel in the team and they're inherited, when you remove them from the team, they no longer have access to that channel. But if the case is someone adds them directly to a shared channel, they will still have that access to that shared channel. Last owners of a shared channel cannot be removed from the team. With that, probably no orphan channels, right? No channel left behind. So as you all know, that Teams has an orphan, or Microsoft 365 group has an orphan process where you can assign administrators or people to teams that have no owners, which is a nice process that you can do within the Microsoft 365 platform to prevent teams from being orphan and potentially, if you have an archive process, being deleted. If a shared channel becomes ownerless, user leaves the company, an existing in-tenant channel member is automatically promoted. So let's say, in this case, Cassandra leaves the organization, or I'm sorry, Danielle leaves the organization. one of these two. I don't know how the pick is. Maybe it's a coin flip and it's an algorithm that runs and flips a coin. But Cassandra and or Beth can be promoted to channel owners. That way the channels don't become ownerless. And then also channel owners can override default channel settings that are inherited from the team. So as you know, when you create a channel in Microsoft Teams, it will inherit the team settings, Microsoft Teams team settings, sorry. Um, channel owners can change those settings on that specific channel. Okay, so some of the more share channel features. This is a good one to talk about. So each share channel is backed by a dedicated SharePoint site collection. If you're a SharePoint admin, you're probably cringing right now. I'm cringing in my chair. This is another SharePoint site collection, just like a private channel. It does use a custom template when it's provisioned. The site collection does enhance this process enhance the SharePoint admin experience for managing channel sites. So in the SharePoint Admin Center today, this was announced recently, you'll see the difference between a Microsoft Teams site for that specific channel, or I'm sorry, for the SharePoint Admin Center. Now you'll be able to see difference between what's a SharePoint site, what's a SharePoint site that's associated to a team, channel, private, public, or private share. So you're going to have those distinct labels in the SharePoint Admin Center to tell you what's a channel, a shared channel, a site collection. No default channel folder in the document library. So when you provision a shared channel, it's not going to get a default channel folder. No, there are the host tenant users can share with any member user within their tenant. So that it's one of those things where you can share with anyone that has an active account in your environment. External users can seamlessly access shared channel via B2B Direct Connect. We'll give you a couple nice features about what B2B Direct Connect is. It's an Azure component. External users can share a file with members of a channel. External audience tenant awareness enabled labels, external labels on the site header usernames. What that means is if I'm an external user, the label on a site header and also the username is going to have external next to it. So whatever the site name is in the SharePoint is going to have external shared or externally shared or shared channel, and then the username of that specific user is going to have a shared channel as well. Meet with your team directory. This is another feature of a shared channel. So shared channels support Meet Now and schedule meetings. Channel members are not by default added as meeting participants like standard channels. So you do have to present your attendee list when you schedule that meeting. Only host tenant users will be able to start a Meet Now or schedule a meeting. So if you're an external user in a shared channel, you can't do it. You cannot start a Meet Now. It has to be someone that's on that specific environment. External members can join an ongoing Meet Now and join a scheduled meeting. So if you wanted to share a link with an external user, they will be able to join those ongoing Meet Nows or scheduled meetings. The collaboration on apps in real time, the shared channel support tabs and connectors, it does support it. So support for bots, message extensions, line of business applications support in the works. An app SDK available in developer preview. Apps must be installed in the team before they can be used in the shared channel. So if you're a shared channel owner, but not an owner of the team, you're going to have to get the team owner to install that app so you can install it on your shared channel. So let's say, for example, if you wanted to add Trello, bad example, but if you wanted to add Trello to a tab and it wasn't installed for that team, you would not be able to use it, or a custom app or whatever the case is. So you have to get the team owner to add that app. And then also certain Office 365 group connected apps such as Planner, that's all coming later. So those native first party apps that are connected apps like Planner. I'm not going to name any more, but that's coming later. It does have, excuse me, security and compliance capabilities. So whatever the host tenant is, so the environment that you're sharing from, that's what the compliance policies get applied to when a channel is shared with other tenants. Teams continues to be the unit of management. Channel inherits team sensitivity label in geo. So if you have geographical locations, wherever the teams is, that's where it gets shared. For e-discovery purpose, channel messages in dedicated mailboxes, team e-discovery search includes all associated, channel messages. From a compliance perspective, SharePoint sites for channels and teams. The legal hold perspective is still in, if you have any information barriers, it applies to the host tenant. Retention and DLP policies apply to the team will apply to all shared channels in that team. And then from a monitoring and auditing perspective, Teams audit logs in Azure and also the Azure Active Directory sign-in logs will be available for shared channels. Access review, if you're familiar with the Azure Access Reviews process, this will be included into B2B Connect users, so you can provide access reviews for shared channel users. And then from a communication compliance perspective, it's supported on shared channels. Okay, so let's talk about, you can collaborate with as many organizations as you need. This is a little illustration chart of the number of members in a team. The 25,000 limit includes all distinct users across teams and direct members and shared channels in the teams. Number of shared channels per team is 200. That does include deleted channels, and that is very specific to the hosted and shared within a team. So keep that in mind. Number of teams a channel can be shared with, 50, excluding the parent team. Number of members in a shared channel, 5,000 direct members, including up to 50 teams and all team members. There's only a distinction of 25,000 users can show the channel in the channel list. And then also a note, number of organization limits will be managed by B2B Direct Connect, which is part of the Azure AD cross-tenant application policy configuration. Okay, so let's talk about external collaboration. I guess before we do we have any questions? Are there any comments? I'm not sure if we're monitoring chat, but if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask away. All right. Okay, so let's look at the components of what it takes to provide external collaboration. So firstly, you need to understand from an administrative perspective, you need to understand features in Azure Active Directory. So AAD is Microsoft's Azure Cloud-based Identity and Access Management Service. So we're going to look at a couple things. We're going to look at some features in Azure AD authentication, which Azure AD provides the authentication for the employee sign-in to access resources. It can provide single sign-on with the appropriate licenses. And then also from an Azure AD business to business. So when we get to that B2B connect or B2B components, this is what we're referring to. This is really what stores all your identities within Office 365. So if you share a team with an external user, if you have that capability turned on, during the invitation process, an identity is created in Azure AD based on registration and based on the acceptance of the invitation by the user, by the external user. So let's say if someone wanted to share a file with me and they sent it to my my Outlook account. When I go to my email and click on the accept invitation, it's going to take me through a sign-in process. And if I have a Microsoft account that's associated with that Outlook account, then I'll be able to sign in to that resource and get access to it. So it's a very, it's a simple process, but can be complicated with a lot of different scenarios. So let's understanding how we can work with external users, right, in Microsoft Teams. This is important to understand because of the fact that within Microsoft Teams, this is where it's gonna work with Azure AD to extend that permission to your Microsoft team here. So let's look at this scenario. We're gonna define external users. So user A is a member of your organization. So this is what they would call a member of that organization, which is an internal user, right? User B over here is a business account, right, in Azure AD. So what that means, it's not part of your organization, but it is a part of another organization in Azure that has Azure AD. So let's say if we take company A and company B, totally different instances of Office 365. So that's what that is. So user B is a business account. User C is a consumer account. And consumer account is an email account with Outlook, Gmail, Hotmail, AOL.com. That's still a thing. Those different types of carriers, right? So it's a social identity from a user C perspective. And then user D is anonymous user without authenticating. So a lot of times we really don't want to get into the anonymous user without authenticating, because we want the user to authenticate, and we should be able to track everything they're doing, where they're coming from, where their identities being set at, and those different types of things. So there are some cases where you need to have anonymous users, whatever that scenario is, just to make sure that you understand that requirement. Let's look at external access or federation. So this is a concept that you need to understand. So external access permission to an entire external domain. So what that means is this will allow each domain to find, call, chat, and set up meetings between the two. So company A, company B, you're going to be able to have those integrations for teams, right? So guests are added to your organization's Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, as a B2B user, and must sign into Teams using their guest account. And what their guest account is, it's their corporate identity. That's their guest account for our environment, and vice versa. If they shared something with us, our account from that environment would be a guest account in their environment. This means that they must have to sign out of their own organization to sign into your organization. That's how it works today. Right, I have to sign out of my organization to sign into your organization specifically. And guest access gives access permission to an individual. Guest access is individual access one-to-one. So external access or federation is two different entities, and then guest access defined here gives access to permission to an individual that allows an individual to chat, teams, and use channels accordingly. So that's individual access. So what that looks like is, within the Azure AD for our environment, we can collaborate with user B and user C as well as guest in this scenario. So we're opening that permission up. So whether we're doing external access, which is federation, or guest access. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of B2B Direct Connect. This B2B Direct Connect is a component within Azure that will help you connect and help you. What it does, it powers external collaboration on shared channels. It's a new way to collaborate with people from other Azure Active Directory organizations. You can search for people from other Azure Active Directory orgs using their email address. You can share apps and other resources with people from AAD orgs without adding them to your directory as a guest. External users can access a team shared channel without having to switch orgs or sign in with a different account. This is the biggest thing I think Microsoft is fixed, and it's taken a lot of years, is I no longer, with B2B Direct Connect in Azure, and then also with Microsoft Teams shared channels, I no longer have to sign out of my environment and to sign in your environment to share a document or to get into your chat, and whatever the case is. I can seamlessly do it by using B2B Direct Connect. So I don't have to switch orgs. I have that seamless experience all in the same client, as you see here within this illustration here Notice there are various different accounts and external users as well. So if you look at this this training channel here, there are internal user, external user, and you don't have to sign out of that to get that experience. So people from other Azure Active Directory organizations can be identified using external annotation, so that it puts external next to them so that you know they're external. There are some granular controls for Microsoft Teams admins. So there are some policies that you can set in place to assist with either locking it down or enabling it. So I'm thankful that Microsoft is finally putting more settings on this specific policy, because it's been bare for the last couple of years as they continue to change the Teams admin center. So one of the things you can think about is a per user policy for creation of all share channels. So by default, the policy is turned on. So what that means is, in this image here, users can create shared channels, right? Users can share channels with external users, and then also users can participate in external channels. Right, so that's that per user policy, and which is a two-way street, right? So a per user policy for who can initiate, accept external sharing. This does require B2B direct connect to be configured. Then also you can manage that channel lifecycle, create on behalf of, update and delete. And you can also manage members, add, remove, promote, demote. And then as far as the external access, the one-on-one chat, calls, and meetings among cross-tenant users. And there's also going to be some PowerShell and graph support for that. So as a Teams administrator, you do have access. What I'm reading in this first bullet, just to let you guys know. So if you don't want that policy to be turned on when shared channels gets pushed across all organizations or all tenants, you might have to do some work on making sure that you go disable that setting. So just keep that in mind as well once that comes out this year. Target it for this year. Okay, so let's talk about a summary. So we talked about the Microsoft Teams Connect is built for seamless collaboration with internal and external partners. We talked about a rich set of governance and compliance and management capabilities. Sharing files with external users is off by default, but with who controls sharing for select tenants. Host tenant and team policies apply to all channel members. No change to standard and private channel behavior. And then currently in private preview, coming to public preview soon, which I think that's already the case. I think this month is supposed to be coming to public preview, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe March. Maybe it's been changed. In March. You can follow the roadmap. This is the specific roadmap item. So the feature ID 70766 was last modified last November, but it was added to the roadmap almost a year ago. This is the link below to see all of the Teams roadmap items, but this specific feature, Microsoft Teams Connect, is in preview for March of 2022. Again, that private preview is going. If you'd like to be part of the public preview, reach out to me. I can probably get you some more information on how to do that. If you are a partner or a customer of this and you wanted to do that, let me know as well. I get you in touch with the powers at hand. That is all that I have for today. I wanted to thank everyone for being here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to voice those.
That was a great session, Johnny. I think
Well,
you covered, you covered quite a bit, from pretty much all spectrums, both what's coming, the administration, end user, admin. So well done.
Thank you. Do we not have a chat in this one?
Oh, we do, but I don't see anyone. We had a couple of questions earlier, but I don't think anyone's asked any questions. Come on, guys. One of you guys has to have a good question there. Don't be shy. Let me ask.
AMA.
Oh,
right?
Let's see if
Right.
I can ask any questions. What's one of your, like, as a user, what's one of your frustrations right now as a user? Something you
You're
wish
gonna
was.
have to buy my book, Vanessa. Oh. Yeah,
I love it.
actually, I mean, I think we covered it in this topic. Is one of the frustrations that I have is I'm part of so many external facing teams with my identity, and in order for me to see the chat in a meeting or see the conversations, I have to switch tenants. Literally, have to sign out a tenant and change identities to see that information. I think that's one of my biggest complaints from a user perspective because of the fact that I have so many external tenants that I'm part of that I have to keep track of.
I
I'm
agree. I
not sure if
agree.
everyone
That's
shares that same same thing, but that's definitely one of them.
No, no, I totally understand that one. Right in there with that is when a tenant goes away and they're still listed and you can't
Mm,
get rid of it, right?
yeah.
So, the tenant was, I don't even know if it was decommissioned, but it took me, I'd probably say 3 months to get rid of it off my. Not that it's a big deal. You just go click up there, and you don't have to go to it, but it's still there. So
Yeah, it happens a lot on the mobile experience because there's no way to sign out of that tenant. That happens a lot, especially if you have a managed device that you're moving from. Hey, I'm moving this managed device from this tenant to this tenant. Oh yeah, I've experienced it a lot too.
And yes, I'm just looking at our chat too. Yes, absolutely. The slide decks are shared. I will have to get the public link. I think it's actually going to be posted on afterwards on every single one of those sessions that you see that pop up.
I'm gonna upload the slides, but I have to change tenants to do that.
Surprise, surprise, surprise,
Right.
surprise. All right. Well, thank you again. It was a great session. And anyone else, going once, going twice? Johnny's going to get some coffee. 4 cups of coffee?
I'm
Decaf?
done. I'm done.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great day. Good job.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.